Okay, first things first, I just need 2 volunteers to come up. Julie, if you want to welcome, Bridget, come on up.
Yes.
The thing that I need you guys to do, one of you can actually stand behind this because it'll make you feel like you have some authority. And then you can stand behind this, Julie, because you feel like you have authority too. What I need you guys to do is, I'm going to give you guys 1 sentence each. And Julius, you're going to tell Bridget why you think the Jonas Brothers rule. And Bridget, you're going to tell Julius why the Jonas Brothers suck. Okay? I hope that doesn't offend anyone if you like the Jonas Brothers. It's totally fine. Do you guys need a minute to think, or you ready to go?
You get 1 sentence.
You get 1 sentence.
Okay. Go.
Yeah, sure.
The Jonas Brothers have been referred to as the songbirds of our generation.
Says who? That's my sentence.
Okay. I mean, it could be. Then I have to ask. Okay, so you got a better one. Go for it.
The Jonas Brothers are a bunch of uptight children from England who've gotten everything spoon-fed to them on a silver platter and pranced around the United States fantasizing little girls about a bunch of big hoo-ha that's nothing.
Sounds like the Beatles. Just kidding. Okay, that's good. So if I asked you guys, who would you say had a better sentence, a more convincing sentence? I mean, we all kind of know the Jonas Brothers suck in general, but who convinced you more? We'll do this. You guys can round of applause. Given the election of just the crown alone, I apologize, Julius. I'd have to say Richard won. So you guys can go ahead and sit back down. I know I've told a couple of you this already, but my lesson is kind of about thesis statements. And what that activity was for was really just to show you guys, essentially in a humorous way, obviously, what it takes to kind of convince a crowd of your stance. I mean, you had a great point, but then, even with the showing, she had, showing in her thesis, if you want to call it, or her 1-sentence debate, to kind of sway the crowd. Of course, biases probably took over too. So if I were to ask you guys to define a thesis statement, how do you think you would do it? Any ideas?
It's a short version of what you want to say.
Okay, that's good. I can live with that. Is that on by chance?
Yes, it's green.
Oh, good. What's that? Okay.
I'd say it's like the direction you want your paper to go.
Okay, definitely.
Basically the main points that you're going to talk about in your paper.
Okay. Sure. Smiles, yes. Anything?
Main points, yes.
Okay. I, just for reference sake, I work in the Writing Center, and this is something that I go over a lot with students. And, a lot of students bring in papers and the thesis generally, like within a first draft, or like the thing that needs to be worked on. So generally what I tell students, a thesis is kind of like your paper in a nutshell. You want to give me enough detail about what you're going to say, or your reader, I suppose, not necessarily just me, about what it is that you're going to say without just giving all the supporting points of your paper away. But generally it's a sentence long. Technically they can be longer. For our purposes, I guess, a sentence works. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a few, thesis statements on the board. If you want to call this a board. And we'll zoom in on that. Is that readable for everybody? Okay. So I just went online and I tried to find a funny prompt. I guess such things don't exist. So I found one that I thought was pretty accessible to everyone, and it was something that's fairly easy to take a stance on, because generally that's what you want your thesis to do. You kind of want to be able to take a stance on an issue or a subject or an object or whatever. So this one is Do you think that movie and or TV rating systems are effective or useful? Why or why not? So I wrote out 3 working thesis statements, I guess you would call them. They're definitely not the best. But I mean, they answer the question. That's also, you know, kind of another thing that you want a thesis to do is, if you look at the prompt, this one is a question. A lot of times you won't get a prompt, you know, obviously in a question, we all know that. But if you look at it as a question and like you're answering the question, then that's a great start. So I think the first thing that we're going to do, I'm going to just look at 2 of these kind of individually, and I'll do a little bit of modeling for you guys, and then we'll go over the third one as a class. Does that sound good? Okay, cool. So the first one, TV rating systems are useless because no one pays attention to them. Not a bad thesis. It's got a good point. The language. I think it might be tough to argue that they are absolutely useless. This would probably be the type of paper assigned to a class that you don't really need to go out and do any research for. So I might kind of get rid of the word useless and think of another word. Anybody think of kind of like a less harsh word for useless? Unnecessary. Okay, unnecessary, that's good. Unnecessary, is that correct? Or is it 2 C's?
Good enough.
Okay, cool. Because no one pays attention to them. Again, it's kind of a tough thing to argue that no one in the entire world pays attention to TV ratings. I would argue that a lot of parents probably pay attention to TV ratings. I'm not sure. Don't you? Is that what I heard you say while you were teaching? Yeah. Didn't you say that's what you studied? Can't remember. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Do you have a kid? Anybody here have a kid?
I will today.
Okay, that's fine. As a parent with a young child, like, would you think you'd pay attention to those type of things? Like, if The Sopranos came on, and you probably already know the content.
Right. Yeah, there's certain channels I might block.
Okay.
Certain movies they can't go see.
Definitely. So it's kind of obvious to see what this student is trying to get across. But they're doing it again with the language just a little bit too harshly. So a way to kind of fix that might be TV rating systems are unnecessary because although parents have a say over what their children watch, if the child is at TV alone, the rating holds little meaning, right? And I can write all that out, but in the interest of time, I won't do it. But you see how that kind of, it's detailed enough that you have kind of an idea of what I'm going to be talking about without just telling you everything, giving you all the information that I have to give you. So if we just move on to the second one, yes, because they are accurate. This one has a few problems. In the first one, it's a little bit better just because they have TV ratings mentioned. So without knowing the prompt, if I was to give this to somebody else just to read the paper and they read, yes, because they are accurate, nobody would have any idea what the paper was about. I mean, eventually they might get the idea, but you guys know what I'm saying. So yes, because that's going to be the first thing. You want to be detailed, like I said, but you don't want to give everything away. So TV rating systems. Rating systems are, that's supposed to be effective, actually, I apologize. Are effective. Okay, and that's still good. Like, if you look at it just from a very basic level, we're answering the question, that is the prompt, are they effective? And the answer is yes, obviously, for this person. But we need some reasons why, and you kind of want to be careful with this, because you might run into, that kind of boring 5-paragraph format. But for the case, for this student or this class, that might be what, obviously from the thesis, a 5-paragraph paper might be really like a big step for the student. They can understand the thesis and get the details in there that they're going to create a 5-paragraph paper that's going to give them organization later and an outlet to kind of express what their true ideas are. Yes, they are effective because parents can teach their, because parents can teach They're children about what the ratings mean.